action scenes can energize your story. They can give it meaning and they can keep your readers on the page, but only if you write them well. Today I'm going to give you some tips on how to write the best possible action scenes. What's up guys, my name is Brandon McNulty, I'm a writer and welcome to my writing channel. Today we're going to talk about action scenes, and I want to say up front that this is going to be geared toward novels more so than toward screenplays, although there's going to be plenty of information for both. And also when I talk about action scenes, for the most part they're going to be kind of close quarters combat types of scenes like fist fights, things like that, although you can expand outward if you want to. So my first tip is to always remember that your action scenes should have some kind of emotional stake. And this is very important. I think one of the most frequent mistakes that people make when it comes to action scenes is they use them to open up a novel. And the problem with that is oftentimes when you open up with an action scene, that can work in a movie because you have the benefit of like stylistic violence and things like that. But I think when it comes to the written word, it doesn't translate the same way. And when we are reading the written word, in order for us to get invested in a fight, we need to care about the people who are involved. We need to care about the characters. We need to worry for their safety. We need to be concerned with whether or not they get what they want, get what they need. Why are they trying to win this fight? Why do they need to win this fight? What happens if they don't? Should we worry if they get injured? All those different things factor into it. And if we're emotionally connected to the character, the scene will leap off the page. The readers will care about it. My number 2 tip, keep point of view in mind. Point of view is so important when it comes to fight scenes because every character is going to bring different baggage into a fight. You might have a character who's afraid to fight. You might have a character who's been a veteran of many different fights, and those two people are going to approach a fight in very different ways. Someone who's never been in a fight before, they might be trying to focus on too many different things at once, whereas a veteran of fight might focus strictly on the opponent and the moves they're trying to make. It'll affect the tactics they go about, it'll affect the level of fear they have, what they're looking out for, what they're concerned about. Someone who's been in a fight before might not be concerned about breaking their nose, but somebody who's never been in a fight before might be horrified at the thought of their face getting busted up. Depending on what kind of experience they have, how comfortable they are with violence, maybe if they have like a martial arts history or something like that, some kind of understanding of how to fight, those kind of different things will determine how your character will respond to the fight. And this is something that is so important because if you have a character who's never been in a fight before and all of a sudden you write this fight scene like they know exactly what they're doing and they're on top of everything, it's just going to come off as fake and your readers are going to see right through it. So remember who is in the fight and remember what they're thinking about, what is going through their mind, what do they expect, what are they afraid of, and what kind of tactics are they thinking about. My number 3 tip, do your research when it comes to weapons. A lot of times when I'm reading either published books or unpublished manuscripts that a friend sends me, oftentimes I will see bad details in regards to weapons. If you're going to get the details right, I mean, all you have to do is just go on Google and look it up or ask on a forum online somewhere. There's plenty of people out there who are willing to help you. And if you want a great resource to have on your desk, check out the Writer's Guide to Weapons. This is just one of the best resources out there because it's so simple, it's to the point, it's down to earth, and if you have no knowledge at all of weapons and you're just wondering like what kind of shotgun should my character be wielding, or what kind of a gun does a cop carry, or anything like that, what kind of knives do they carry, you know, what's a good tactical knife that an ex-military person might use, this book has that kind of information in there. It talks about ammo, all the different things you need to know. And I think it's just one of those things that can help you, and if you are interested, I will link it in the description below. But whether you're reading like the Writer's Guide to Weapons or you're Googling this information online, you gotta get it right because people focus on weapons when they come up in fights. My number 4 tip, avoid the temptation to be overly cinematic with your action scenes. And this of course goes for novels. And I think when it comes to novels, a lot of us who we write novels, we love going to the movies, we see action on the screen, and we often ask ourselves, how can I get that down on the page? What can I do to make my action scenes more stylish? And I think that's a dangerous path to go down. Yes, it doesn't hurt to have a little style with your prose, but I think when you are writing a story that is meant to be read, you have to remember there is a specific strength that a novel has that the screen does not have. And the key difference is that when you are writing a novel, you can use all 5 senses. And if you don't use all 5 senses, you're missing out. And rather than trying to get all stylish stylish with the visual aspects of your novel, try and hit on all five senses. Try to hit on the sweat coming down a person's face. What does it taste like? What does an open wound smell like? What does it feel like to get punched or get knocked to the ground or to have your head slam off a brick wall? All those things you can't really convey on the screen in the same way that you can within the pages of a book. And you have to use that to your advantage. And I think another thing to remember is to just not get too technical when it comes to describing the choreography of a fight. Don't describe every single movement they make. Don't describe all the technical actions, how the arm moves, how the fist connects in extreme detail. If you're going for some kind of emotional impact, sure, go through with that. But if you're just going through all these different details and you're just piling them on one top of another and you got a page of details with nothing else really going on, try and just cut it down. Try and just be real and just keep the momentum flowing. Keep the balance between the external action and the internal thoughts. And that brings me to my number 5 tip. Focus on the important moments within a fight. And this is something that oftentimes I don't see it done very well. Oftentimes a fight scene is messy and there's a lot of things going on and it's hard to really latch on to one key detail or one key series of details. But I think whenever you are writing a fight, it helps to focus on the important beats. And by that I mean things like when you have a character who gets thrown to the ground, or you have a character who gets disarmed if they have a weapon, or you have a character who is, punched in the face and it messes with their consciousness or messes with their perception, or you have a character who suffers an injury or breaks a bone, or anything that has an actual impact that could change the flow of a fight. Those are the things you want to convey to your audience. You don't want to give them details on like every single punch, especially if you have like a character who's maybe punching someone who's wearing body armor. If they're hammering away like 27 punches, you don't want to describe all 27. Just mention he unloaded a series of blows and leave it at that, or wait until something happens where that body armor gets ripped apart or it comes off or something like that. That's the type of beat where the story changes, where the fight changes, and that's something that the audience needs to know about. My 6th and final tip is to make sure that your fights have consequences. This is something that a lot of writers overlook, and it probably has something to do with the fact that there's so many superhero movies nowadays where people get in these epic battles and they come out looking just as handsome or beautiful as they did before the battle. And I think if you are writing a story where people actually they get punched and they bruise and they bleed, you need to remember that there should more often than not be physical consequences, even if it's just something like some pain that's distracting them after the fight, or it could be something a little more severe like an injury or a broken bone or something that actually sends them to the hospital. I think one of my favorite episodes of television is that second episode of Daredevil where he actually spends the entire episode getting medical help after a battle in the first episode. And I think just that level of realism just really impressed me because it was something that brought me into the story. Yes, you probably could have just had that second episode be more action, more excitement, but the realistic angle gave that show some kind of credence that a lot of other superhero stories don't have. So if you can ever do something like that, try and go with it. And if you can't go with like physical damage because maybe your character needs to be healthy for some reason, if you can't go with physical damage, remember that you can have emotional or mental pain that they suffer from after a battle. For instance, maybe a friend of theirs is kidnapped during the battle, or a friend of theirs dies during the battle. What does that do to their psyche? Or maybe they're just a character who's very vain about their appearance and maybe they get their nose broken. What does that do to their self-esteem? Does that prevent them from going into work the next day, or do they stop hanging out with their boyfriend or girlfriend? What does it do? Think about those types of things when you are coming up with the aftermath of a fight scene. And then of course think about PTSD, and this is something that's very important to creating a well-rounded character. If somebody gets in a fight in an alleyway, what happens the next time they walk past that alley or any alley? Do they have any sort of anxiety triggered when it happens? Like if they walk past that alley, are they all of a sudden tight in the chest? Are they breathing heavily? What's going on with their mind? Are they afraid? Are they looking over their shoulder? Are they worried somebody's going to ambush them? All those types of things can be, just drawn into your stories. They could be used to enhance what you have on the page and enhance these characters that you're coming up with. And if you have an opportunity to bring consequences in, you have to do it. So I hope all this helped. Question of the day, what is your favorite action scene from a novel? let me know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to check out my other videos. Hit the like and subscribe buttons for me, share this video, and remember to keep on writing.